Let me break down the plan. Problems of porn viewing for children. Says adults are negatively affected. Says a ban should be put in place that will act as a communication decency act. Would place a ban on indecent material on the internet. Make it a crime to transmit sexually offensive material which may be accessible by children. Bill passed that installs filtering software. A bill that would heavily penalize those that show children under the age of 17 harmful materials for a commercial purpose. Says this law would simply reinforce pre-existing laws. Says it does not infringe on the First Amendment rights. Already illegal to engage children into internet pornography. So would that just help to support already established laws? Blocking children access to pornography at libraries and schools. Now, the plan is very vague, okay? Let me give you the interpretation. Judge, policy round. The resolution calls for an agent of action, which is a USFG, to take an action of regulating pornography to the USFG that takes regularity action by passing a specific plan. Pro teams has the burden in the very first speech of telling us, number one, exactly what the specific action will be taken. Number two, who is taking the action. Number three, funding. 4, enforcement. 5, time frame at the very least. Violation. They have no idea what the plan is doing. Number one, that will act as a communication decency act. Number two, it would place a ban on indecent material on the internet. Why? Which means banning not only all porn, but anything indecent from the internet. Number three, bill passed that installs filtering software, but what kind of software? Number four, block access at just libraries or schools, but we already have software. So plan ranges from not doing anything different than what we are already doing to banning all porn from the internet. Completely unclear as to who is taking the action. Number one, says a USFG can crack down. Number two, quotes Bradley as saying it should be this new strategy would rely upon a proliferation of non-governmental initiators and initiatives to combat pornography by morally stigmatizing it. Number 7, completely unclear as to what the enforcement will be. Number 1, says the gov should crack down. The article says that there should be civil enforcement, but what kind of what degree? Says the gov should be subsidizing. The funding, hard to say what kind of funding will be needed if we don't know what the team is doing. But we can assume that if this will be enforced civilly or criminally, then there will need to be some kind of agencies monitoring who is or isn't complying. In the time frame, it never tells us when this action will take place. Now, Jez, let me explain to you the standards. Prima facie stock issues. The pro team has to give you these key components of the plan in the very first speech. Otherwise, they don't have a complete case and it's game over. Good policy. There were 3 solutions to choose from. They choose policy. Judge, you are pretending to be the lawmaker who must decide whether to sing their plan, but you can't sign a plan, no matter how good it might eventually be, if you don't know exactly what it's doing. Fairness and grounds. Lack of specificity allows them to become a moving target. Education. Failing to nail down a specific plan decrease education because we can never have a substantive debate about that specific plan. Now, Judge, let me do the voters. Bad policy. Had a prima facie burden to specify plan in the very first speech, so they already lose. Any further plan specification or shifting will show that they are unfairly abusing our grounds. They have decreased the education of this ground. They say that the gov will subsidize this plan. Since they don't specify where the funds will come through, we can assume it will come through normal means of deficit spending. If plan is to have any heavily regulation at all, that will require funding, some kind of enforcement mechanisms like the FBI to make sure that people are complying with this law. It will take a lot of money if they hope to have solvency at all. Now, Judge, let me give you the counter plan. Pass pro plan, whatever it is, but fund plan through slowing the penny production rather than through the deficit spending. Non-topical. The topic is defined by the pro teams plan. Since our plan differs, we are non-topical. topical, mutually exclusive. No need to fund plan by deficit spending and slowing penny production. Wouldn't want to do both because deficit spending is bad, net beneficial. We solve the problems mentioned but avoid the DA of deficit spending. Vote for us, Judge.